Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad that you're listening today, and I'm so excited about today's guest. But before I tell you about my guest, I want to remind you about the Kids Only segment. That's the part of the show at the end where kids get to be on the podcast. So listen up for that. Well, today is my very first duo, meaning I'm interviewing two people at the same time, which I've never done before. So that was really interesting. It was so much fun, though, and this duo calls themselves the Skit Guys. The Skit Guys are Tommy Woodard and Eddie James, who have been best friends since high school, and they fell in love with acting through the school's theater program and discovered they had a knack for making people laugh. Since their high school days, they've been writing and performing hilarious skits live and on camera. Tommy and Eddie have traveled the world performing for families at events, churches, and conferences. Their skitguys.com website has grown into a treasured media resource for families, pastors, and churches. Their numerous short films, skits, and scripts are used to reach families all over the world. When the Skit Guys aren't performing or shooting new short films, both Tommy and Eddie serve in their local churches. These guys were a blast to talk to. I had so much fun, and I was so encouraged in my faith. So here is my conversation with Tommy and Eddie, the Skit Guys. Well, I am so honored to have the Skit Guys on the Collide Kids podcast today. Thank you guys so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're honored to be here.
Yeah, this is so cool. So we have Eddie James and Tommy Woodard. They're the Skit Guys. You guys have been doing this for quite a while because I know you from like when I was younger, and now I'm older. So I'm interested to hear about your story today. Will you just introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. My name, this voice that you're hearing right now, is Tommy Woodard, and I am the skit guy with hair. That's how you can identify me.
Oh, and what a good-looking head of hair too. It's so coiffed.
Thank you.
Wow, the things you can do. Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Telling that either. That's amazing.
Yeah. I just keep pins in there.
Wow. That's incredible. My name is Eddie James, and I'm the other half of the duo, the Skit Guys, and I'm the bald skit guy. So that's how you can know us apart. So yeah, if you ever see us, yeah.
There you go.
And here's the key difference. Eddie cannot grow hair on the top of his head. I can't grow hair on the bottom of my head. I can't grow a beard or a mustache. So
Really?
Kind of what makes us a team.
I can't.
You can't put pins in there like he
I can't put any pens in my beard.
I'm so sorry. Let's start out. We always like to start out by asking my guests to share a joke because this is a podcast for kids and kids love jokes. So you got something fun or funny you want to share with us today?
Well, I have a dad joke. Do you think they would like it? I mean, dad jokes can go either way. So.
I mean, who doesn't like dad jokes?
Okay. All right. So here's one dad joke. Okay. Okay. What rock group has 4 men that don't sing?
I don't know.
Tommy, do you know what rock group?
I don't. I can't begin to guess. I don't know.
4 men that don't sing? Mount Rushmore.
Oh!
That's a good one.
Hey, what do sprinters eat before a race?
I don't know.
What do they eat before a race? Sprinters, what do they eat?
Fast food.
Nothing. They fast.
Let's say fast.
I have a feeling fast food could technically could probably.
Yeah. I'm going to go with fast food.
Okay.
I like both those answers. That was good.
Thank you for doing a joke for me because I don't know any real good jokes.
You don't? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, all my jokes are very dated.
Um, why don't you do a voice? You got a voice? Maybe you could do a voice,
Like
silly voice.
like a voice.
Yeah, like a silly voice. Like,
Yes, voices. I do. Yes.
there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And we could, like, if we're doing a radio show, that would be Yoda. And then we could go,
Right.
Chewbacca, you're on the air.
Yeah.
Oh, Chewy, how are you today, Chewy? What's the matter, Chewy? Oh. Are you gargling like a fur ball? What did you swallow? Oh gosh. All right. So there you go. There you go.
I love it. That was great. That was awesome. You such talent. That's so good. So tell us about the Skit Guys. Like, how did you guys get started doing these skits?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. For we're two guys that do skits. There's not a lot of us, just two of us. And we grew up in high school at a church that basically the youth minister allowed us to do skits every Wednesday night. And so, and that's no joke. It was every Wednesday night, unless one of us didn't show up or I didn't show up. And we would steal stuff from, TV and try to make it Christian, which was very hard to do. But we would sit there on a Wednesday night and try to come up with a skit to go along with the topic that the youth minister was talking about. And we would take about 25 minutes. So they were great youth nights. Those were awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not at all. And we would also usually mess up the Bible because we didn't know what we were talking about. But it's a great, we never set out to be skit guys. It was just, we knew that we had a gift and using it for God was giving it back to him. So it's one of the things we like to say, do what you can where you are with what you have and leave the results up to God. So, that's kind of how we got started.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. So you guys, were you good friends before all of the skits started? Like, how did you figure out you did have this gift?
Well, we're not really friends at all. It's just a part of the act.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, we were in theater together in high school, and however it worked, probably my freshman year, your sophomore year, Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we became buddies, and started being the class. We were already the class clowns individually. Then we just kind of used our powers. We were Wonder Twins. We melded our powers together, and
yes,
form of comedic abilities, and just try to make people laugh. Yeah,
shape of humor.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, like Eddie didn't like me when he first met me. Like sometimes if you're out there and you have somebody that you don't like, they may end up becoming your best friend because we didn't really like each other when we first met.
Yeah, it was competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you guys, you did this for youth group, then how did it grow into like what you're doing now?
Golly,
we had a really great youth pastor, and he would travel and go, speak at some of his friends' churches and things. And sometimes he'd take us with him. And then sometimes there would be times that he couldn't go. And instead of going, he would say, hey, why don't you have these two guys come in and do skits? And so we started doing that. And then it was just word of mouth. And somebody else found out about it, and somebody else found out about it. And the next thing we knew, we were Skit Guys for full time as our job.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you think about that back then as kids, that's pretty, it just hit me like we said yes. There really wasn't a no in there. Every time we got invited to go to a church, I don't know if there was a lot of no's in there. Like, oh, we can't, we're doing that. Like we made it happen, and we would go to these churches and pretty much do the skits that we did on Wednesday nights. We would just take them over to the other church, kind of modify it, kind of figure out what their theme was or whatever their banquet was or winter retreat was. And we would take those skits that we basically practiced on Wednesday nights, and we would take them to another church. So But yeah, we said yes a lot. I can't imagine if there was a lot of no's in there, what this could look like. I mean, that sounds so crazy, but there were yeses even back then in high school.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And so you guys eventually started doing videos, and because that's where I've seen a lot of your stuff is on YouTube. So, and you guys started that before there was TikTok, before there was all the social media stuff. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we started making videos before there was an internet. That really is true. I mean, our first videos we ever made were in the late 80s, and we just made them for fun. We would take them and use them at some of the shows that we would do when we were performing live. And then I guess in the early 2000s, we had a friend who said that we were going to make a video cassette, and he said, you should make a DVD. And we were like, a DV what? And so we made a DVD, and then all of a sudden these online places came about where churches would go to get videos to use. And so God brought a really great person into our lives that helped us make videos, and we started putting them online for churches to use, and that kind of became the thing for us. You know, fill in the blanks, Ed.
Just thinking back to all of it, are any of those videos in SGTV on our site? The ones
the really old ones?
Yeah.
I'll look and see. I don't know.
I mean,
good question.
We were doing stuff like that. I mean, just for fun. Like, you know, we did, and it was, sometimes we would use them in between skits and stuff like that. We were trying to create, if you think about that, we were trying to create shows, even in high school, with video and skits. A lot of it was clunky, but there is one on my Instagram. I don't know if it's on your Instagram, on Skit Guy Eddie, of you and I at a car wash. And I
love that one.
We did these two characters called Zeb and Zach, and it was Zeb and Zach's car wash. And I'm talking about our car wash, like an interview, and Tommy's washing basically my car in high school. And the power is so incredible that Tommy's flailing everywhere with that wand. But we were doing stuff like that in high school, you know, just trying to figure out, you know, funny bits, whether live or on video. So yeah. And again, I would go, that's so crazy to go, even with the videos in the 2000s, to go, yeah, let's do it. There was always yeses. Okay, let's do it. Nobody's asking us to do it, but let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. There really is something to saying yes with the passions and your creative best. You know, we always talk about on Bedtime Bible Stories, always kids need to use their creative best, no matter how young they are or how old they are. We all need to use our creative best. God has gifted us. God has made us. We're not a carbon copy of anybody else. So there is a point of, we could live in fear, being afraid, or we can say yes and see what God does with it.
I love that. And I think I always say on here, like, kids don't have to wait until they become an adult to do things for God. They can do things for God right now. So it's really awesome that, like you said, it's just saying yes to those things. If you have an idea, just try it, just do it and see what God can do with that.
Yep. We do the possible and allow God to do the impossible, because we just
like that.
know what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's good. So what do you think it is about drama or about doing skits and things like this that people connect with?
Well, for us, we have a saying, and that is, humor breaks down walls for the truth to enter. And so if you can get somebody to laugh, you can get them to listen. So for us, a lot of what we do, even our more serious stuff, there's moments of humor in there. And so I think one of the keys for us is just that humorous aspect. Besides the fact that, you know, God says that laughter is good medicine, right? I mean, there's a lot of great things that come from laughing. And so I'd say humor is a part of it. Ed?
I think you hit it right on the head, good buddy.
Yes.
Like, you know, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, yes. For sure. So a lot of your skits, or mostly all of your skits, have to do with faith. So why is it so important to do things like this about your faith in God? We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
Well, I mean, I think when we were young, in high school, our dream, even while we were doing skits at church, was to go be on Saturday Night Live. So that was the goal.
Okay.
To just go be funny, because usually people on Saturday Night Live at that point, not really today, but at that point, they would go be on movies. So it was like, oh man, if we could get our foot in the door and just do characters and be on Saturday Night Live, you could make a career of television and movies and stuff like that. So why do we do what we do? I really do believe we were called to do this. Like, we could have done that, but we had this calling on our life to do ministry, which is to, the gospel, the Bible is called good news. So we feel with our lives, with what we could do, we want to use all our gifts and talents to figure out to make the Bible come alive to people instead of just being funny. Because there's a lot of funny people doing a lot of gross things or things that are inappropriate. But I would rather figure out the challenge to use our gifts and talents and to make people laugh and make them think, but also help them figure out their creative best and their calling on their life, so they can live out their purpose for God.
Yeah, I think about that too. Like, how many people have seen what you have done and thought, I could do that too. My goal is to be funny and do something fun like that, do drama at my church. So how would you encourage someone like that wants to be a skit guy or in their ministry or something like that?
Christian, before I answer that, I want to tag on to what Eddie just said.
Yeah.
Just when I was 18, I did a monologue called A Substitute Worker in Children's Church in this little bitty church in Mississippi. And when it was over, this sweet little lady came up to me and said, "The Holy Spirit spoke to me tonight through what you did." And so since then, that was when I was 18. So that was 10 years ago. Since then, that's just, I've been chasing that moment forever. Like I want to be used by God. And so I think that, why drama? Well, because that's the gift that God gave me. And so it really is whatever your gift is, and I would say, to answer your question you just asked, the simple answer is start doing it. Like, whatever it is, your gift and talent is, whatever your passion is, start doing it. Don't wait for there to be a certain time and think, well, when I grow up, I'm going to do this, find out now. Ask your pastor or one of the ministers at your church or your mom or dad, like, how can I start using my gifts and talents, maybe at church, to start being used by God?
And I'll go back to that word, and it wasn't planned for this podcast. It's just the word yes. No, most of the greatest things nobody is asking you to do. There's not a line, there's no phone calls, there's no email. Nobody is asking you to do the things that God has put on your heart, the visions that keep you up at night. I mean, you'll be waiting a long time for that special moment to go, hey, have you ever thought about fill in the blank? Or you just do it. You say yes, and you go, you know what? I feel called to do this. I'm just going to give it a shot. So We have tons of scripts that you could download and use, or or you could write your own. You could figure out how to, Acts 13:36? It says King David served his purpose for his generation, and then he died. So you go, so for your generation, what is your purpose? Before you leave this earth, how are you going to use your creative best? And you carve out a whole new road that maybe nobody's gone down on. But if you keep waiting for someone to ask you, you may be waiting a really, really, really long time.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's really good, Ed.
Yeah. And I think too, someone listening to this right now, they need that permission. It's like we all feel like we need permission to do something. And I love you said that. They're probably not going to ask you. You just got to do it. So consider this your permission.
Right. There's your permission.
Yeah.
Then you have nice people like you asking us, how did you get started? So, but no one gave us permission to do any of this. It was just, hey, should we do it? And then word of mouth, So yeah, you take a chance and you say yes to whatever your creative best is, because you're not a carbon copy of anybody on this earth.
Yeah.
So why act like it?
Yeah, that's so true. And listen, we would do this whether anybody was listening or watching or not. Because if you saw us in a car riding together somewhere, we're doing this. We're playing characters. We're having fun. We're laughing. It's just being on stage or on video is just an extension of who we really are. And the other thing is, tagging on what Ed said, through Bedtime Bible Stories, we will have someone send us an email or something and say, hey, go to my YouTube page. And it will be a kid who their parents have helped them, and they've set up their own YouTube channel, and they've got a show and they're doing their own thing. And nobody, it's not like YouTube called them one day and went, hey, Jimmy, we'd love for you to do a show. He was like, I want to do this, or she was like, I want to do this, and then they just did it. And so I think God loves that. I think he loves it when his kids just step up and use their gifts and talents for him without being asked.
Amen.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of bedtime stories, will you tell us a little bit about that? Tell us why you started doing a bedtime stories talk show.
I'm going to start off. I love this story because we're coming up on, maybe we're at a year. We're after a year, aren't we?
Yeah,
somewhere around. Yeah. When the pandemic first hit, we didn't know what we were going to do. There was, Eddie and I, we travel around and we do shows at different churches, and you couldn't do that, and then also churches use our videos on Sunday morning, and churches weren't meeting. We couldn't do that. But we still wanted to use our gifts and talents for God. And so Eddie had this great idea. And he said, if it was just me, I would be telling people bedtime stories to comfort them and encourage them during this time. And we decided, with the help of some people that work with us, hey, let's do that. And so he came up with that idea on Thursday. And by the following Sunday was the first episode of Bedtime Bible Stories. And we thought it would last maybe a month, 2 months, maybe at the most.
Well,
right, Ed?
That's how long we thought the pandemic would be, right? Isn't that adorable that we thought it would just be
yeah. So cute. So cute.
And I think it's so crazy because we'll do skits. I mean, most of what we do, besides knowing the Bible passage, those skits, if you were to watch what we do on Bedtime Bible Stories, and all those seasons are up on SGTV on skitguys.com if anybody wants to watch them. But it really was to go, how can we comfort people? How can we just give a little bit of hope with the Bible and help help kids go to bed at night, help adults go to bed at night, help teenagers go to bed at night. That show has reached around all over the world, and it's nothing we did. It really is nothing that we did to do that, to garner that. It just was a God thing and word of mouth, and K-Love Radio came along and picked it up as well. But if you're to watch those, we are basically doing the same thing that we did in high school. It's unscripted. We're improvising. We're throwing out characters. We're picking a theme, and we're just doing our thing. And we've had the privilege of doing that and having it come full circle, for 30 something years. So it's a lot of fun. It reminds me of when we were in high school in youth group, just improving and trying to create, trying not to mess up the Bible now, but to give that little nugget of hope through comedy and through skits.
Yeah, and guess what, Christian? Nobody asked us to do it. Nobody. We just did it.
You did it. Yeah. True.
That's awesome.
That's true.
Yeah, nobody asked me to do this podcast either. I just started doing it.
There you go.
And it's been so much fun. It's been more fun than I thought it would be.
Amen.
So
I love that.
I know. I tell a lot of people it's like an extrovert's dream because I just get to meet people and talk to them, and it's so fun. I love it. So no one gave me permission either. I understand that. So tell us a little bit about some other things you have to offer. So you've started a podcast as well on Access More.
Yeah, we've actually had a podcast for many years, but it was long ramblings, and we would do one every 3 or 4 months whenever we felt like it. If there was not a movie to go see or something to go eat, we'd make a podcast. Yeah. But yeah, Caleb came along, and in that case, they asked us, in that case, they were like, hey, you want to do this? And we're like, sure. So yeah, we've got one it's called Laugh More with the Skit Guys, and it's on Caleb's Access More website, and or anywhere there's podcasts. So you can go to the podcast store if you want one. And it's a lot of fun. It's about 20 minutes long, and it's more of Eddie and I just talking about life. There's usually a topic. We usually put a skit in there because we're Skit Guys, and we have a lady named Jen who is with us on there. She's our friend and podcast producer, and it's a lot of fun.
We also
That's good. Yeah.
That's what we did. We also filmed a movie that is very kid friendly called Family Camp. We filmed it in June when the pandemic was smack right dab, and it's a really funny movie. Sony, their faith-based division called Provident, made it along with Caleb. And so we're figuring out when that'll come out and all that stuff, but it's a very funny, family-friendly, funny movie that's not a cartoon. I don't know if you can name any live-action family comedy that is not a Marvel movie or a cartoon. So we really wanted to help families to go, it's live. As far as what's the word? Live narrative. So
live action.
Live action. And you don't have to worry about being bait and switched. The comedy is going to happen, and you don't have to worry about words or things. It's just going to be funny with a great message. So, and again, that took 10 years.
Wow.
And nobody asked us to do it. It was when we started seeing these movies, and it was more of the War Rooms, Courageous, Fireproof. They're all dramas, but it was like, and believers were going to see movies for the first time. And I think in cinema history, for such a time as this, there's never been an opportunity like this ever. And it really was like, well, why don't we do this? All this stuff that we have on our site is for churches, but we've been acting as if we'll one day make a movie with the crew and the cast and how we do it. Like we were living as if we're going to make a movie one day. And then we start seeing these dramas come out, and it's like, nobody's calling us, but why aren't we writing a screenplay and trying to figure this out? So we went through 4 different stories until we landed on Family Camp. A lot of stops and starts, but if God gives you a dream, say yes. Go out and do it. Don't give up either when you hit dead ends. In every dream, there's going to be delays and difficulties and dead ends. But if you have said yes to it, keep following it and see who God brings along. And there's been great people that have come along that have made this movie happen. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that you guys are coming out with a movie. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also just finished writing a book. It's not published yet, but it's coming out. It's a book on friendship. And so we're excited. I don't know when that is going to come out, but anyway, the publisher has it, so we'll see what happens with that too.
And it's funny, like you'll be able to read it like some of, I'll use the word secular, like, like the Tina Fey, some of these books that you read that are, when you read it, they're funny. Well, we've tried to do the same thing, but it's a survival guide to friendship as well. There's going to be principles in there for men and women, for boys and girls, for teenagers. If you want to see, we have over a 30-year friendship. We talk about everything. We lay everything out there, but we've gained some principles over the years to go, these are good principles for a friendship, relationships, so anyway.
Yep.
Wow. Is there any media platform that you haven't touched yet? You're doing a book and a movie and videos.
Yeah. I think that's it. When we started, there was still like, what was it called? Telegraphs. And we never did that, but
maybe you could bring that back, like a retro type of thing.
Maybe it's worth a thought. ... dash. So yeah, and then on top of all of that, it's the stuff that we've been doing for a long time, and that's making short films for churches, and those, all of that stuff as we talk about this. Eddie mentioned it a minute ago, but if you want to watch it, you can go to skitguys.com/SGTV. And you'll be able to find our podcast there. You'll be able to find Bedtime Bible Stories there. There's some live shows recorded there and some other videos that are just great for families to watch. And that's just a free site. It's, you don't have to pay to do it. I'm wearing one right now. There's Skit Guys swag there if you want a Skit Guys sweatshirt, t-shirt, or anything, coffee mug. But yeah, so come see us.
That's awesome. Well, I have to tell you, this is my first duo having two people on the podcast together. So congratulations. You're the first duo on the podcast.
Fantastic.
It's so fun.
Yay!
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for doing this and letting us know where to get, where we can get more information about you guys. I always like to end the show by asking my guests to share a memory from when they were a kid. So do you guys have a memory you want to share?
Eddie is the memory of our relationship. I don't remember well. Every time the only memories I'm thinking of is when I hurt myself as a kid. Those aren't
fun. Today, I'll start. Today is my dad would have been 70 today. He's in heaven, but I've been thinking about him, and he was always a lot of fun. When I was a kid, there was always adventures to be had. There was always things to do. He loved the outdoors, and so I got to partake in my dad's fun. He was a guy that I would say embodied say yes. Like it was like, let's go do it. Like I'm probably more of a serious guy, and my dad was a very fun guy, and so he was a guy that would say yes. And he also taught me a lot about Jesus and faith and the Bible. So I'm very thankful for those memories when I was a kid of my dad.
Cool.
Okay, you told a dad memory, so I'll tell a mom memory that I just thought of while you were talking, Ed. When I was probably 4 years old, maybe 5, it was before I was in kindergarten, I know. I was at home with my mom, and my mom was always such a fun mom. And so we were running around the house and playing, and I was pretending like I was beating her up, and I kept kicking her legs as hard as I could, and she was going, ow, 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 and then she ran away, like pretending like she was crying, and I went to my room just laughing and everything. And then when I came out of my room, my mom had, I looked at her legs, and there was red all over them. Like it looked like there was blood on them. And I started to cry. And my mom goes, oh, no. And it was ketchup. And she put ketchup all over her legs, pretending like I'd hurt her. And so that's a memory that I have. And we laughed real hard and then went to Sonic because we always got Sonic when I was a kid.
Well, I'm glad it ended with laughter, or that would have been undoctored. You all would have.
I know. Why do you think I am like I am?
Oh my goodness.
That's the humor I grew up with.
You would have been in that high back chair, Dr. Phil looking at you, and then, well, let's bring out your mom. And then your mom, she comes from the back of the audience having to
Oh,
walk.
no. It was just a joke, Tommy. It was a joke.
And every camera hits the audience and they're just doing this.
Shaking their heads. No.
All right, we got some problems here on the Dr. Phil show. We'll be right back.
I love it. I love that we're ending with the Dr. Phil show. That's awesome.
Yes.
It can go so many ways.
It can go so many ways. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for doing this today.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What made you say yes to this? What was the vision for you that made you do this? What made you decide to do this? What was the vision behind it?
I was on vacation and I was bored.
Yeah.
Because I love podcasts. I've always listened to them. I enjoy that. And I was always looking for a podcast that I could listen to with my kids. And there just weren't a lot of fun ones that we could connect with. So one day I decided, why don't I just try it and see what happens? So it's something the Lord kind of laid on my heart. And I like you said, I said yes. Nobody asked me to do it, but I thought, let's just give it a shot, especially with the pandemic and everything. I didn't have a lot of creative outlets at the time. And so anyway, it's been a blast. I've been doing it since September.
That's awesome. Good
Wow.
for you. Yeah. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So having a good time, and I get to meet the Skit Guys. So this is
Hey.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh.
what it's all about, right? Well, thank you again. This was so fun.
You're welcome.
Hey, thank you for having us, Christian.
Thank you.
Heyo. They were so much fun. I loved having them on the show today. I just got so much out of that, like so much laughter, of course, but also just some of the things they said, like using your gifts for God is just giving it back to Him. I loved when he said, do what you can where you are with what you have and leave the results up to God. So if you want to do what it is that your gift or passion is for God, just start doing it. Say yes, just like they encouraged us to. And I loved when they said, we do the possible and allow God to do the impossible. That is so good. They also talked about laughter as a good medicine. I got a lot of medicine today. And they even have a shirt for that. You can find shirts, videos, skits, and lots of good stuff on their website. So go check that out, skitguys.com. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So I'm really excited for you to meet my friend, Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and today I'm going to tell you a joke. Okay, well, it starts with P, ends with E, and has a bajillion letters in it. Do you know? Post office!
That was awesome. I was trying really hard to think of really long words, but post office, that does have a bajillion letters in it. Good one, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Well, I would love to hear your favorite joke or an encouraging quote you like from a book or a movie, or maybe you have a Bible verse that you want to share. You can find information about how to send that to me through my social media. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to check out my new website. It's thecollidekidspodcast.com. There's lots of information about my guests and about how you can be on the podcast. You can also subscribe and follow this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you're using. And if you're using Apple, leave a rating and a review. That actually really does help people find out about the show so they can listen too. Well, I hope you've laughed with me today and been encouraged. Go out and do something that you love. You do the possible and let God do the impossible, right? Well, in case no one has told you, let me be the first to remind you today that God loves you so, so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between, and all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.